Part 3. Masters of the Universe Classics. In 2008, rather than attempting to make lightning strike a third time when it had failed to strike on that second attempt, Mattel refocused their business model to address adult collectors in a separate capacity to kids, judging that the markets were too different with clashing priorities, interests, and indeed reasons to buy toys. They created their mail-order website, mattycollector.com. Kids will ask for the toys of the animated shows they're watching and the movies, though these have wildly different windows of opportunity. A show can run for years, going series after series, but it's only recently, in fact starting around 2008 with Iron Man, that a movie series could run and run in kind. Likewise, a TV show that isn't immediately wildly popular can be cancelled after just 1 or 2 seasons, and fold along with the toy line. Until that market is tested with a combination of winning elements, it's like popcorn in the bag. Some, like Ben 10, pop, others, like Young Justice and Green Lantern the animated series, do not. Now, adults are different. We have a rich vein of nostalgia that marketers have been successfully making the best of for many years, but even more so in recent times with Jurassic World and Star Wars getting enormous box office success based largely on our feelings of being excited little kids again, kids with disposable incomes now. To that end, with Masters of the Universe Classics, Mattel set out to make all the old He-Man fans crawl out of the woodwork and declare their allegiance with comparatively expensive but correspondingly high-quality figures, purchased online rather than in stores. Visiting the site just once and signing up for the mailing list after liking what you see sets you up for regular marketing opportunities as every new figure on the slate gets announced, along with the Comic-Con exclusives which were heavily woven into the fabric of this line. More to the point, each figure is made in limited numbers, so once they're gone, aside from the hope of a second edition, that's it. And your shopping then switches to the secondary market to fill the holes in your collection, which in turn stimulates more purchasing directly from Mattel with the newer figures to save money in the long run, as some of these aftermarket prices skyrocket to crazy amounts, which makes taking them out of the package an agonizing prospect. Better to buy 2 from Mattel in that case, one to open and play with, and one to keep in pristine condition to ensure it appreciates in value. And so, the stage was set for one of the most customer-focused, fan-centric and successful lines of the modern era, one that sees constant daily activity on eBay and at collector-cons. At the time of writing, January 2016, this line is supposedly drawing to a close, but Mattel keep finding new ways to extend it, with yet more obscure characters and a new 2.0 classics based on their appearance in the Filmation TV shows. But let's head back to the very beginning to look at how this started out. It began with a cautious, almost playful convention exclusive, King Grayskull, based on He-Man's ancestor from the 2002 TV show, the man whose hard work protected Eternia of the past with his essential decency, a power which became one with the sword itself and thus flows into Shrimp Adam, transforming him into the image of this barbarian monarch. Presumably, had the 2000X toy line continued beyond Snake Men, this would have seen a figure in Toys R Us, along with the evil horde that turned up in the NECA Stactions line. But this was used to premiere the Classics series and was available only at the San Diego Comic-Con of 2008, with 2 variants of course, the randomly inserted bronze chase version and a translucent blue spirit. Half a year later, in December, the first of the new series began their mail-order shipping. Mattel deliberately went back to the very first wave of MOTU toys from 1982, with He-Man, Beastman, Skeletor, Stratos, Merman, Zodiac, and Man-at-Arms, all released roughly 1 a month up to the 1st July in 2009. The second convention exclusive was Faker, being made inexpensively from a recolored He-Man body and Skeletor armor, making him ideal. One more figure released in these first few months was Hordak, the big bad that never materialized properly in the 2002 show, but also the first leap forward in the line to a different time period, hinting at She-Ra shenanigans to come. At San Diego that year, the exclusive was He-Ro. This was a muscular wizard from pre-Eternia, a land of evil dinosaurs, and had been intended by Mattel to be the male successor to the She-Ra series in 1987. But following the dismal reception of the movie, the idea was scrapped, although a single mini-comic, the last one as it happens, which saw our He-Man journey to the past, did lay down part of the lore. Elements of the character, including his golden armour and laser power He-Man's sword, were worked into the New Adventures version for 1989. This was another bold statement on Mattel's part. They were introducing toys that had not only never been on screen, but were part of obscure MOTU lore, literally only known to the most die-hard of fans. That December, the next obscure character got her first figure, the Goddess, essentially a green Teela with the snake armour from the original figure. This was how the Sorceress first appeared to Barbarian He-Man in the first ever mini-comic. Another nod to the 2002 series also occurred in this first year with the black Zodiac, who is distinctly more techno-oriented and has a staff and a K in his name, was released after the 1982 style white Zodiac with a C. The design of these figures wasn't just recapturing the squat, wide-chested, muscular uniformity of the 80s line. While those figures proved the touchstone for the look, a great deal of the aesthetic was informed upon by the box art and how they looked on the back of the cards, effectively delivering to our adult hands a considerably taller, far more articulate, better-made, ideal version of every single one of those figures, beautifully sculpted by the Four Horsemen. Most figures have hinged and ball-jointed ankles, split-jointed swiveling calves, hinged knees, ball-jointed pelvises rather than those rubber bands, swiveling waists, hinged midriffs, ball-jointed and hinged shoulders, socket biceps, hinged elbows, swiveling wrists, and a ball-jointed, frequently removable head. They shared the same torso, arm, and leg variations as the original line, allowing for the same mix that made production so prolific. Mattel have set the price of each figure accordingly to what it takes to keep the line going at these high standards, a regular rate that has raised a little over time, but is still less than you end up paying on eBay a year later, which makes pretty much every figure a worthy investment in carded form. You are, of course, at liberty to order up to 10 at once of most figures. They are sent in remailer boxes to protect the bubbles, and each comes with a generous and authentic set of accessories. There were frequent alternate heads included when there was a discrepancy in the presentation from toy and screen. Merman came with a head that looked like the original toy, and another that evoked the box art and the 2002 version. Duncan, Man-at-Arms, had a mustachioed head to match the cartoon, and a clean-shaven one to evoke the original toy. Later he would have a body styled after the 2002 armour, with Snake Man-at-Arms, and another that strangely combined the simplified Filmation armour with the 2002 top-knotted head, a mix for the superfans to untangle that came with the battle ram. As fans realised Mossman's ears looked wrong flocked, Mattel obliged and made all future versions of him unflocked in the ear department, with a small contingent of first-run versions being sold alongside. The Wonder Bread He-Man I mentioned in Part 1 got to see the light of day, as did the previously convention-exclusive Keldor version of Skeletor, and then the downright weird Mo-La, who was a made-up Eternian dentist created by Seth Green and co. for a Robot Chicken sketch. San Diego Comic-Con 2010 Mo-La came with Skeletor with one tooth pulled out. He's a bit easier to pick up today than other convention exclusives. 2010 also saw the introduction of various accessories including battle stands for displaying the figures, weapons packs to add extra dimension by evoking other toys. The pale blue sword, shield and battle axe combo was present in Mattel's original weapon pack. The 2002 Power Sword clearly evoking the 21st century He-Man. It was in 2010 that Mattel also soft-launched a choice few of these at retail shelves, in 2-packs with their more familiar to kids DC superheroes. Each figure was changed slightly to better reflect their appearance in crossover DC comics, whilst also distancing them from their limited carded figures on the website. These were Toys R Us exclusives and have since become sought after themselves. In 2011, Icarius marked the first New Adventures character brought up to date. Queen Marlene was also present, rocking an awesome transforming costume that turned her into a female Buck Rogers-style astronaut, Captain Glenn, whom cartoon fans will remember came originally from Earth before crashing on Eternia, settling down with King Randor and raising a superhero. She also came with the first ever dedicated Cringer figurine. Vicor evoked that first ever He-Man design from the earliest days. Bo, Catra, and Swiftwind joined She-Ra as the first emerging new characters from her cartoon. Notably, this was also the first time they were being billed as action figures and not dolls. The depths of obscurity continued to be plumbed as Fearless Photog emerged triumphantly in 2012 as the first of the 30-year anniversary celebration figures. This guy was the winner in a designer figure contest back in 1986. 12-year-old brainchild Nathan Bittner got a trip to Disneyland, but Photog never saw plastic until this special release. Likewise, Sir Laser-Lot was designed by Flash and Green Lantern writer Jeff Johns when he was 8 years old. Mattel introduced the character in digital comics and granted him his own figure. Daniel Benedict created Castle Grayskull Man with his own grisly and foul-mouthed mock-up of the classic commercials. 2013 had its share of firsts as Ram Man, long awaited but long held back as he required entirely new moulding, finally headbutted his way onto the scene, along with New Adventures He-Man, finally made cool by the classics styling. A battle-worn and aged King He-Man also emerged, marking the maturing of Adam as he defeated Skeletor at last, and settled down with Teela to raise their son Dare, who would go on to take up the old Preternian mantle of Hero and continue the legacy. Notably, the Hero 2 figure of Dare strikes the balance between the original Hero and the New Adventures He-Man. 2013 also saw the astonishing and huge new version of Castle Grayskull, making all kinds of Christmas mornings for many affluent 30-somethings. In 2015, He-Man vs. King Hiss gave us the first proper 2002 He-Man in body and head, albeit in his more rare snake armor version. The Heads of Eternia pack made similar nods to the 2002 line with variant modern heads that probably should have been included with Buzz-Off, Roboto, Clawful, Cyclone, and Snout Spout. This was followed by Oolah, the barbarian version of He-Man who turned up in the first ever mini-comic. All in all, more than 150 new figures have been produced in the MOTU Classics line, pretty much all of the original line and She-Ra and the New Adventures, with generous smatterings of 2002 references throughout. 2014 saw the first direct nod towards a redesigned character with the Filmation shows in mind. Hordak looked distinctly different in cartoon form, as was represented here, and this would be the seed of the Masters of the Universe Classics 2.0 line, which began in 2016, and restarts with renewed focus on capturing exactly what He-Man, Beastman, Skeletor, and Trapjaw looked like on our blurry, square, convex CRT TV screens in the early 80s. This 2.0 line effectively jumpstarts the whole process off again, bolstered with the introduction of Thundercats classics in late 2016, the license having passed from LJN to Bandai to Mattel. Chances are they will replicate the same level of dedicated fan service for that line, and I can assure you, Action Figure Resource will be right there to cover it. Mattel may one day attempt to bring He-Man back to the mass market and see if either kids are optimistic enough to embrace him for who he is, or if they can find a neat, ironic, self-referential angle to appease the more tech-wise and nostalgia-savvy child. Chances are we'll still have Matty Collector exclusives to satiate the adult collector. Most likely, though, we need to look at the possibility of a new movie making the Masters a household name again, and considering the tone modern audiences respond to, relative to the zany charm of this mythology, that's going to be a balancing act that even the most powerful man in the universe, combined with the mighty brain of Skeletor, would have a serious challenge with. We all hope and pray they will pull it off.